What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and this is probably going to be a longer video. What we're going to do here is just go through the X account and look at all the official posts about the last year, really, of One Piece Treasure Cruise. So we're going to be starting all the way back here at December 22nd. 2023. We're going to work our way up, kind of, just have a little bit of a rundown, a little bit walk down memory lane about what we kind of experienced in 2024. Now, I think, generally speaking, Treasure Cruise in 2024 has been a massive low point. I feel like this has probably been as low as Treasure Cruise has probably ever been, maybe even since like year one. In year 1 and 2, there was definitely a lot of problems with Treasure Cruise in terms of quality of life stuff, but I think that just the overall popularity of Treasure Cruise is hit an all-time low. So we're just hoping for things to change, but honestly, just from what I can see, I don't think things are going to be changing anytime soon. We're trying to give as much feedback as we possibly can. Even that long feedback video that I made, going through everyone's posts about, if you were in charge of Treasure Cruise, what would you change? All of that has been submitted as feedback, including massive text informations, and we'll see what happens. We're not here to talk about videos that we've done in the past. We're here to talk about what went in Treasure Cruise in 2023, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a peek in terms of what we could see heading into next year. So on December 22nd is when they gave us this little tease post, and of course this did hint towards the dual Yamato, Roger and Odin, and Sanji and Zoro. Now, I've looked out of these three units, like this unit, this Roger and Odin character, absolute stinker of a unit. I really didn't like this character on release. Some people still like this unit, but like honestly speaking, I really don't like this unit. Dual Yamato, I'm not the biggest fan of the design of the character, but I can understand like there are use cases for a character such as this. And then Zoro and Sanji, I mean, we already know it's the legend of the year. It is probably one of the best legends that's ever released in Treasure Cruise history. This unit is absolutely god tier. Along with that was the super evolution of Dex Super not super tandem, final tap law. The fact that this guy got a super evolution was actually pretty big. This was pretty nice. This unit was pretty strong, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if we get something like that as heading into this New Year's celebration. I believe the New Year's before this, we got the super evolution for V1 Roger, so I'm expecting us to get another Super Sugo 6+ during this event period. We'll have to wait and see. What else happened in this event period? We had the PKA of Whitebeard. This Whitebeard was actually pretty solid, saw a decent amount of play, even after his 5+ came out. Actually still a pretty solid unit. I'm going to assume we're going to get something very similar to this, where we get like a lottery thing. You clear the quest and there's a bunch of gems that are going to be given out. I assume it's going to be the same kind of thing. Another lottery thing, a daily login, Happy New Year. There was the Blitz battle versus Kaido, so obviously the fact that the New Year celebration was solely focused around the Wano units makes sense that the Blitz battle was going to be against Kaido. So I'm just hoping that the New Year celebration is not up against more Wano related stuff. I hope that it's not Wano focused. It's probably going to be. I would hope they go somewhere different, like Egghead would be nice, or giving more representation for other arcs. I know that like way back when, I'm talking like over 5 years ago, one of the New Year's celebrations for Japan was V2 Doflamingo, the Dex one with the overkill damage, and that was such a cool legend to have as a New Year's celebration unit. That was a big deal. Of course, Global wasn't caught up at that time, but seeing that as the New Year's celebration was actually pretty sick. So it would be cool to see other arcs get some representation for New Year's, but I'd say there's a 99% chance that it's going to be Wano related, which is pretty disappointing, but we'll have to wait and see. Rumble Ace is whatever. The free-to-play Luffy from Egghead. Egghead was kind of starting in the anime, so we're getting into that, which was kind of fun. And then we move on to the treasure map, which introduced Oiran Luffy. This unit was pretty strong. This unit is still pretty solid, all things considered. These rare recruits are fine, but this Luffy still sees a lot of play. I mean, it is a Luffy, which is like the most annoying thing about it. And I guess, they didn't have a Luffy for the New Year celebration, so starting off the TM of the next year with a Luffy kind of makes sense. What else do we have here? We have Pirate Rumble Super Evolution Kaido. Okay, actually pretty good unit. And then we had a pop quiz, we had the TM, of course, we had the Kizuna Clash, which was going to be against Alba, which I assume was the free-to-play Alba. And then we have Egghead, the announcement of Egghead. I remember when this came out early in January. I actually went to LA for the Bandai Card Fest, and I remember that the Lilith Sugo Fest debuted like while I was in LA, and I actually did end up pulling Lilith, which was pretty crazy. But yeah, we had the new Bonnie, we had the Lilith come out, of course, and that was a pretty big moment, getting our first Vegapunk legend. We had the Kizuna Clash against Alba, of course. These units are still kind of interesting. They still kind of see play, especially because of all of the Vegapunk support that we will inevitably get in the future. These Vegapunk units, I feel like, will kind of age okay. So long as we keep getting Vegapunk units, these units should work pretty well, because it seems like every time they bring out a new Vegapunk, they want to make them synergize together, and so long as they keep doing that, then these units will be okay. This Bonnie really doesn't see a hell of a lot of play, but she has a very good support effect that attaches to the Straw Hats, and sometimes see play because applies weakened status, conditional boost against the weakened status. I believe she was the first character in the game to inflict the weakened status. So yeah, kind of cool that they introduced that at the start of the year. That was a pretty neat thing to do. The free-to-play Jinbei came out, who was actually pretty good. This was actually a pretty big Pirate Rumble Sugo Fest. Zora was pretty strong, but Brook, I think, is kind of like the highlight of this batch, mainly because the Slasher team, as it kind of wound up being, you didn't really need to run this guy on Slasher teams because you had Zoro and Sanji, so you couldn't fit him anyway. But having this Brook meant that Zoro and Sanji's effects would actually proc, because you needed a Straw Hat on your crew, and there was no Rumble Straw Hat that you could put on the crew that was a Slasher that was not a Zoro until they released this guy. So perfect synergy there. And then we had this TM. All these units are actually really good, by the way. This Sanji, very good support effect, so you love that. Bro, this is probably my favorite 6+ of the year. Giving it to V3 Rayleigh. They basically fixed all of his issues, but then they added like amazing abilities on top of it. Paralysis reduction special, the attack down removal in the captain ability. Very good in like random TMs as well. Just a nice unit overall. The Valentine stuff, which is okay. And then we had the Boa stuff. I remember that. Yeah, because we're heading in February now. We're in Feb 16. Global anniversary, or the worldwide celebration is right upon this time period here. This Boa Hancock is interesting. She does have a really good super tandem because it's only a one-tap super tandem, and Luffy can be included in that. But her effect that you get from the super tandem is kind of bad. So that's the real downside to this unit. So they announced the little note here, the worldwide anniversary Fearsome Foes campaign, which of course, as we all know, was going to be Blackbeard. They give us this little tease here of the bounty, which we know was Blackbeard's bounty. And you can see that we had the 6+ here of Blackbeard, or this was the Pirate Alliance Kizuna Clash, sorry, of Blackbeard. And then when we head into the new batch at the end of February, heading into March, was going to be the new Blackbeard, of course, which synergized well with the fact that we had the Boa Hancock in the middle of the month, and then a couple weeks later we had Jesus Burgess and we had Blackbeard. This was a really weird batch. Looking back at it, this batch was really, really funky. It was all centered around Blackbeard bypassing defensive effects, and then you had the whole batch focusing on giving the enemy defensive effects and then having beneficial effects if they had beneficial effects. Really, really weird batch altogether. And then the Kobe, this free-to-play Kobe was actually pretty solid too. You love to see that. S-Hawk, bro. Oh my god. I mean, this is all coming together. You had Boa Hancock, Jesus Burgess, Blackbeard, and Rayleigh got his Super Evolution as well. And then S-Hawk, all these characters here on Amazon Lily, all coming and releasing at the same time. And then S-Hawk was the best unit to ever release for Pirate Rumble Sugo Fest. Absolute god. They had the Kizuna Clash, the Pirate Alliance Challenge, Commodore versus Emperor. So this was actually the Blitz battle for the worldwide anniversary. For some reason, they announced a comeback campaign during this event period. I never even remembered that they did that, so that's kind of weird that they did that. Okay. I don't remember if we even got all the rewards. I hope we did, but either way. And then they released this. So this was a couple weeks later, the Cross Guild. This is probably my favorite legend that they released in 2024. This dude was an absolute beast. He gets access to really good supports because it counts as Buggy, Croc, and Mihawk. And I love his design. It is a little funky to use, but set target status is so busted. He's got some cool supports that can give him some cooldown reduction, which really help out. Cross Guild, definitely one of my favorite legends in 2024. Probably is my favorite legend of 2024 if I'm really boiling it down. This unit is just so cool, and I love the design of this unit. Really, really cool stuff. We had the new Grand Voyage Twin Cape. Whatever. No one cares about Grand Voyage, let's be real. Okay, so we got the whole world crew stuff. We're going to go ahead and pass that. Of course, you're on different teams and stuff like that. Super evolution of Arlong crew. We don't need to talk about that. He was absolutely trash. And then there is the Kobe with the treasure map, getting that 5+. Super evolution of Arlong crew. Kizuna Clash. Oh, so they introduced this one. Recruit the Toby, Ropo, and Basil Hawkins. So this might be one of the most lame Legend releases ever. This unit is just really, really average. He's supposed to synergize well with the Magma Kaido that came out the year prior, but honestly, you don't need this character to make Magma Kaido good. This character just doesn't need to exist. It's just really, really bad. The support Sugo, the Bao Huang had some interesting stuff, so I kind of dig that, but overall, not really that good. Okay, we'll move on. We have, what was this? The Kizuna Clash, the Super Boss Kizuna versus X-Drake. We had a new announcement, the new Fearsome Foes. So the Fearsome Foes from the Global Anniversary was continuing with the dual units of Dofi Sugar and Moria and Perona. These units really didn't see that much play, which is unfortunate. I really hoped that these characters were better, but you just don't really need them. The announcement of Co-op Quest, which as we know came out during the anniversary, which was in May. And of course here we have the new batch that we just talked about. We don't really care about that. The CP0 units, actually really cool. I like that free-to-play unit. I just wish we got more free-to-play units in Treasure Cruise, you know? We just don't get that many these days, which is a real shame. April Fool stuff, of course, it is what it is. The Brook birthday, S-Shark getting his release. We finally got some more rare recruits to help out the Vegapunk team, Atlas, TM Legend, and these two rare recruits. Kind of cool. Atlas is really good in Pirate Rumble. And then the 10th anniversary teaser. So I don't think they really showed anything in here. It was more of just that, yeah, they showed the logo, and that was basically it. At this point, we didn't really know what the 10th Annie was going to be, but the fact that Luffy was on the logo meant that Gear 5 Luffy was pretty much all but confirmed. We had the Bonnie, of course, getting her 6+, coming in this event, which is good. Rob Lucci, of course, really strong unit. And then they introduced Vegapunk. Yeah, they did do that right in the middle of April, heading into the anniversary celebration. So this unit was kind of cool. I was really hyped for this guy at the start because his captain ability was actually really strong, removing 10 turns of paralysis and bind. Very uncommon to do that just in his captain ability, but the rest of the effect is just very bland. He doesn't do a whole lot. The special ability is interesting, and especially now that we have Shaka, the synergy between this character and Shaka is actually really good, but like the Vegapunk team is just a little wonky. Like it's only really good if you have like max investments in everyone for their potential abilities for Super Tandem, Final Tap, etc. And they don't have a rush unit. So I really want them to get a rush unit. Maybe we could see that for, for New Year's. We'll have to wait and see. And then version 14.0 for the 10th anniversary. Okay, the super evolution of, of Bonnie. This is cool. Sugo Rare 10-week streak login bonus. Login during the campaign, receive 100 gems, and then you also receive all of these bonuses. This was actually really good. I would love to see more celebrations like this because these rewards are pretty gosh darn valuable. I mean, especially the first 3 weeks, getting one of each of these tablets is incredible. I would love to see them do that more often. These posters, again, like the legend versions of these posters are also pretty rare to get. The alternating pen is a bit of a meme considering how often we actually get alternating pen units, and then a limited pool legend is fine. Stuff like this, I want to see more stuff like this, you know? More stuff like that is honestly really, really good. So the 10th anniversary logo, talking about the Luffy, of course. And then here they give us a little bit of tease. This was the stuff prior to the 10th anniversary, right? So end of April, start of May, our normal batch coming up was going to be the female Law and Beppo and the Kid and Killer dual units. And while these characters seemed kind of cool and a lot of people wanted it because it's female Law and, you know, Kid Killer are relatively popular, these characters weren't really that good on release, but these characters have actually gotten better and better as time has passed with more characters that have released. These characters actually have some pretty neat abilities, all things considered. I'm actually a big fan of these units. 10th anniversary roadmap, they give a bit of a rundown in terms of what we should be expecting, which is kind of cool. The free-to-play teach, honestly not too shabby. There's some silhouette quizzes, which is fine. Countdown rewards for the 10th anniversary. And then eventually we will get to the 10th anniversary once we get through all of the shenanigans. I mean, I just passed the new Rumble Sugo. This one really wasn't that good. This is probably one of the weaker, if not the weakest, Rumble banner that they released this year. I mean, the Ace that they released a little bit earlier on in the year, not that great either. This guy really didn't see that much play, I don't think. At least I haven't used him. I haven't pulled him, but I haven't seen like many people use him on their teams anyway. So yeah, that's kind of a disappointment there. Luffy's Meat Carnival, Ayo. And eventually, May 6th, so we got to get to May 12th, going through all of the characters for the 10th anniversary Sugo Fest. And then if we could pause it at the right time. Yeah, here's the 10th anniversary character announcement, May 6th. Okay. And then here we go. The announcement of the characters. No, this is again another tease. Yep, okay. You're going to reveal them. Here they are, right here. So they get announced, the Luffy, the Shanks, and the Ace. Now, I think that the character selection wasn't the best, but the unit design, I think, is really good. Specifically, Ace and Shanks, I think, are pretty well designed. There are some problems with Luffy, and I think I'll probably make a separate video in regards to it, because I did make another tweet about, like, talking about overrated units. I think Luffy might go in that kind of category, mainly due to his design and his EX super requirements. When you compare his EX super requirements with what Shanks and Ace have, yeah, a little bit of a weird decision. Of course, there was the, what do you call it? The Goldie Roger that released alongside was a phenomenal unit, by the way. Luffy, Shanks, and of course, Shanks with his alternating artwork looks so good. The Ace, we had the Roger, of course. But the big downside to this celebration was this. I have no idea why they decided to do this Super Evolution thing the way they did. And they also did it with Perona during the Halloween celebration, where they release a character with their Super Evolution. The only way that you can get the unit during that event period is to pull for the 6+. And then we had to wait like 3 months for the skulls to be distributed for free. I don't get it, seriously. Like, I get it in one perspective because they want people to spend cash to pull for these additional units, but at the same time, this is a gosh darn Super Evolution, right? Could you imagine if Dokkan Battle, for example, released an Easy A for a character, but you could only pull the Easy A version of the unit, you couldn't even get the medals to Extreme Z Awaken that character, and then 3 months later, oh, now you can get the medals to Extreme Z Awaken. Like, it wouldn't make sense. It's just the dumbest shit ever. I think this is probably one of the worst decisions that they have made throughout the entire year. Like, yeah, they've done a lot of weird shit this year. This thing with the whole Super Evolution stuff was really bizarre. Not only that, the Super Evolution that they gave to the unit was not really that good either. They made him like a side grade, but the base form is just better. Even in Rumble, the base form I feel is just kind of better. Very, very weird decision for this Luffy. Artwork, special animation, all look really good. The whole Memories of Straw Hats, dude, oh my god, I think that was really the downside, because the 10th anniversary was kind of hype. A lot of people were excited for it, but then they just nosedived so freaking quick after that 10th anniversary period, when they went through the Memories of Straw Hat stuff. Of course, we had the co-op quest finally debut for the first time. Obviously, that was a bit of an issue as well. I mean, hey, look, they even hit number one in the App Store, top grossing for the 10th anniversary. That's a big deal, especially Treasure Cruise in its 10th year. That is a big deal, right? We got the 6+ for Lucci, who's a little bit of a stinker, so that kind of sucks. But I just really want to get to this stuff about the Memories of Straw Hats, because that shit was so bad. The Grand Feast Sugo Fest, obviously with Yamato, like the Grand Feast units are fine. I think Co-op Quest is just really boring. I really do not like playing Co-op Quest at all. The idea of Co-op Quest is a cool idea, but I feel like the execution isn't great. I think it's just the logistics and the infrastructure that Treasure Cruise has isn't capable of running Co-op Quest efficiently. And that's the way that I feel. I just don't like the way they've done it. Hey, shout out to me for making this video. They actually sent me some cool little memorabilia. I've got them on my wall here, the Luffy and the Shanks artwork in the little frames. They're really, really cool. So shout out to Bandai for sending them to us, because they were really, really cool. That was dope. I love that. But let's continue on. We had this one here, S-Snake. This unit's pretty bad, all things considered. This is actually not a great legend to come out. These Egghead Straw Hats are actually pretty cool though. And then what is this? They gave a little bit of a learning thing about each gimmick. That's interesting. I don't remember this. I completely missed this. This is kind of cool though. They need more tutorial stuff like this, because Treasure Cruise is a very difficult game to get into. And I think any kind of thing that you can do to improve the beginner experience in this game is a good thing. So they actually have a breakdown of a lot of gimmicks here, which is actually kind of neat. So they've got a lot of gimmicks here. I mean, I don't know if this is every gimmick in the game, but there's a lot of gimmicks here. So this is kind of cool. I am glad that they actually did this. This is really neat. So yeah, this is the first time me actually seeing this. There's a lot. I think they legit have every single gimmick in the game. And of course, the thing is they keep adding to this list, which doesn't help. So that's cool. I had no idea that this existed. That's neat. Let's move on. We had, yeah, okay, so this is where things took a massive nosedive. The 10th anniversary coming off top grossing, obviously it was a big deal. And then we get to the Memories of Straw Hat celebration, where the quality of the units in the 10th anniversary was immaculate. And then we go from that to this. Now, I understand these are not restricted, limited pool units. They're not game mode specific. Some of them are. But this is a normal batch legend, or specifically talking about Sanji and Zoro. These units, we understand, are not going to be the same level of Super Sugo, but the quality of these units that they gave us was so bad that it was just like a slap in the face, especially because the whole theming of this celebration, it's supposed to celebrate the 10 Straw Hat characters, and the fact that we got 10 legends right after, like, obviously it wasn't immediately, but 10 legends of every single Straw Hat was just crazy to begin with. But the quality of the unit was just so terrible. I will say some of them have some useful aspects, like, for example, Sanji, great special ability, and Sanji was actually really good in Rumble, right? And Zoro, he doesn't have a lot of redeeming qualities, but his support effect is very good, and you can attach it to Cross Guild as well, which is really cool. But then we just got, like, all of this stuff for the next, like, 2.5 months or so. It was just a bunch of these Memories of Straw Hat characters, and no one gave a crap, dude. This free-to-play Mihawk, by the way, actually really good. Like, okay, Gin, he was okay, I suppose. More co-op quest. The Usopp set target status, kind of neat. He had some cool gimmicks for sure. But again, just if you just compare him to, like, some of the other units that we got, it just doesn't sit right, man. The Chopper, no thank you. Super Evolution of Wano Law, I mean, hey, this unit's okay. But this was also one of the more disappointing 6+s this year because they didn't really change him that much. And the gimmicks that he provides are just kind of okay. So he was an okay 6+, but he just wasn't like what we were expecting. Okay, so we move on from that. We have the announcement of, more Memories of Straw Hats with Nami and Robin. Artworks, special animations, all look really good, but they just aren't great. They actually announced more summer login stuff, which we didn't have in such a long time, so it's cool that they are actually doing stuff like that. The announcement of Robin and Nami, of course, and then we head to the TM, which I believe was going to be Frankie next, if I want to say. Yeah, Frankie was the TM legend. And then we also have to have Brook for the Kizuna. This guy was kind of cool with his final tap, which actually being really good. And also, he was pretty good in Rumble. Frankie was also pretty good in Rumble for the shooter team. So there is at least some redeeming qualities. And then Arlong, though. This free-to-play, Arlong was probably the best free-to-play unit of the year because they gave us so much powerhouse stuff. This guy just worked with them. Any slasher unit, he worked with them, which was really strong. Boa Hancock, a very, very forgettable 6+. So it really sucks that we get some 6+s which have some of the best upgrades we've seen, and then some of them barely change, like this Boa. It definitely feels like there's like different teams that work on units. Like some units get like an A team where they get the best buffs possible, and then there's like a B team that just doesn't do anything and it's very lazy upgrades. Like, for example, characters like Magellan and V3 Rayleigh, even like Quick Kaido, they got the A-team treatment, and then Wano, Law, and this kind of got the B-team treatment, which just feels super, super bad. Obviously, Brook with the Kizuna stuff, and then to finish off this celebration, we had Moria come out, and then we had Jinbei release as the final Memories of Straw Hat character. They actually have a little bit of an update here with the 14.1 update, giving us some quality of life stuff. Nothing too noteworthy there, but that's cool. Super Sugo Fest is coming for One Piece Day. That's right, August 10th was coming up for One Piece Day. So we had Jinbei, and because we knew that One Piece Day was coming up, a lot of this was kind of skippable. The PKA versus the versus Ace. This Ace ended up being a very, very useful unit. That's for damn sure. And then, of course, we get to One Piece Day coming up very, very shortly, which ended up being the beginning of this celebration, the Versus celebration. What was it called? The Clash Clashing Burning Super Battles versus Super Sugo Fest Battle of Onigashima featuring Luffy versus Kaido. And I really liked this celebration, honestly. I mean, we always get like a Super Sugo Fest around this time period here. And the one thing about this unit that I really liked was the animation when you like start, when you open up the unit or whatever. It's a really, really cool animation. Like this one right here. I want to see more characters have abilities like that, right? And Oiran Yamato, of course, debuted alongside them as well. The Oiran Yamato, it was kind of cool on release and very, very useful for the game modes at the time. But this character, unfortunately, just hasn't seen a lot of play. Still pretty good in Pyre Rumble, all things considered, but, you know, not really that useful in normal content, unfortunately. And then, of course, we have the little animation of the Kaido versus Luffy. What do they call it? What do they call this again? Motion character. That's right. I love the motion character artwork. It's really, really cool. So Luffy versus Kaido, definitely one of the better legends this year. Fantastic, honestly. Both have their useful aspects. I actually kind of like Kaido a little bit more. I like his abilities a bit more, but Luffy is no slouch. He's a really, really good unit, that's for sure. It's just we always get new Luffys, right? We always get new Luffys. And then the artwork for Yamato looks really good. And then this guy came out too, the Momonosuke, Denjiro, and Kinemon. This unit was kind of ruined, the fact that Kinemon and Denjiro are named units on this character title. If this was just solo Momonosuke by himself, this unit would be far superior, because there's a lot of Kinemon and Denjiros that you cannot use with this character due to that reason. So a little bit of a downside for that unit. Moving past that, we had the Grand Feast Sugo Fest, Super Evolution of the Sakazuki, which was a little bit of a downer with his Super Evolution as well. They definitely made him a little better, but not a great treatment for him. Free-to-play Ace was fantastic. Super Evolution of Sakazuki, Super Evolution of the Hiyori, that is. And then, another stinker, Memories of Marineford. I'm going to be a little bit mad if the end of year celebration ends up being Memories of X, because the Memories units, they just have this really flawed design philosophy of trying to use their special multiple times in the same turn, but they don't have inbuilt abilities to allow you to do that. You need to require other units on your team for their special to be launched twice during the same turn. And that's the inevitable downside to these Memories of X units, because they all have the same design. It's really bad. And I really hope we don't get more of these units. I like the aesthetics of the Memories of X units. They look really cool, but the actual use of these units is terrible. So real big downside to these units. And Whitebeard was flawed in it, like just from the get-go. Really wasn't a big fan of this guy. And yeah, not a lot of people really use him after he came out. More stuff about Luffy versus Kaido, and then we had the next one here of the next part of this major celebration, which is a pretty big one here with Trafalgar Law versus Blackbeard. It is actually a kind of a shame, because like with Luffy and Kaido specifically, like I feel like both of them are like really good A tier level characters, right? However, with Blackbeard versus Law, like, Blackbeard is, like, better than Luffy versus Kaido, I feel like. Like, Blackbeard is better than both Luffy and Kaido, but Law is worse than both Luffy and Kaido. They just, I don't know what they were doing with this unit. Like, Blackbeard is so phenomenal, and then Law is just, like, he's fine. Like, Law has some cool abilities, but I feel like Law is one of these units that is going to age better once we get more support for the Striker class. As it stands right now, Powerhouse being as good as it is, this Marshall D. Teach is just one of the best units in the game. The HP guard is so powerful, considering a lot of the HP reduction mechanics that we have that get inflicted in content, pain debuff, burn debuff, and also allowing your rush to tap infinite amount of times. Well, not infinite, but the max amount of times. All of that is a big deal with the Rush Sugo special mechanic, and HP Guard can allow you to do that. So this was a pretty big deal here. Law versus Blackbeard was a big release. Blackbeard is a god tier unit. Law is going to be better over time, but yeah, really cool unit though. I like this unit for sure. And this was for, I think this might have been for the TM. I can't remember exactly what it was for. Dude, Kuzan, I completely forgot this character existed. I still don't have this guy, and I don't even really care that I don't have this guy. They kind of screwed this one. A lot of people were hoping for the Garp versus Kuzan stuff, and while we kind of got that after the celebration, like, Kuzan just shouldn't have been here. Like, you could have replaced this with another Blackbeard pirate that didn't have a Sugo Fest exclusive. The Shiryu that we got for that Kizuna clash should have just been here instead. But I get that they wanted to make a unit that works not only for Blackbeard, but they wanted it to work for Law as well. I believe this character is a powerhouse striker, so he kind of works for both units. But yeah, the unit decision wasn't good. The unit design wasn't very good either. There's not a lot of uses for this guy. Real big disappointment there. Moving on from that, we have the Beppo, PKA. This unit really was probably one of the weaker PKA units that we had. Like, yes, he had some uses, but a lot of the times people were just using him because he was the boosted unit for the content. But there were so many other units that you would rather use over this guy because he just doesn't do a whole lot. So kind of a bad design with him. So we had the, what was this? The letter from the team. So they talked about the Blackbeard versus Law celebration. And then they tease us here, oh, Kuzan versus Garp, Blitz battle. Ho, 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 how cool's that? No, we wanted to see Garp versus Kuzan as a unit, not as this weird side celebration stuff. Very, very weird the way that they did it. S-Bear releasing, one of the better PvP units in the year. Very good unit, but not as good as S-Hawk, because S-Hawk is just busted. Okay, so we move on. We have the Co-op Quest. We had the TM coming up with Luchikaku. We had the Stussy and the Seraphims. Luchikaku, a very interesting unit. I don't have them yet, but I can definitely see them being very useful for a lot of other future TMs with their wave clearing mechanics. Hawkins getting a Super Evolution. This was definitely one of the worst 6+s of the year. He was already kind of bad. The 6+ helped him a little bit, I suppose, but the design is just bad from the get-go. It's hard to make him better. And then, of course, we move on to Part 3. Part 3 was pretty big, of course, because we already kind of knew what it was going to be, and that character ended up being the Shanks versus Kid. Now, out of all three of these units, this was the one I was most excited about, because when this moment happened in the manga, I was going crazy, man. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I was hoping to see some really crazy stuff with Shanks and Kid, but in terms of overall unit design, I felt like this was a really terrible way to end it. They could have made this unit so much better than what they did. I was a big fan of what they decided to make them boost, with Shanks boosting slashes and then Kid boosting shooters. I am a fan of that. But there are some key things here that I think they kind of screwed up on, right? They basically made these units' versus effects really unattainable in normal content. They really wanted their versus effects to be used in a Kizuna scenario because their cooldown was so high on their versus gauge, which really, really brought them down. Was hoping for this unit to be a little bit better to be used in like short form content, and while Kizuna technically counts as short form content, it's hard to get them ready to go in a like in an arena or a clash, for example, because the gauge is just way too high. So I think they obviously had Kizuna in mind when they designed this character, but the fact that they have done that means the character is really hard to use in a lot of normal content because their versus abilities are very, very good, but it's just so hard to get it done. Whereas Luffy and Kaido, for example, and even Blackbeard and Law, getting their versus effect is actually really, really easy. This guy, not so much. But I will say is what they did with Kid, I love the unit's design. I think the character is very strong, but it's just that versus gauge, man, is really hard to get. And then Shanks, man, he's going to be a character that's going to see quite a lot of play. Great synergy, of course, with with Zoro and Sanji, making everyone into Slasher Free Spirit to then trigger all of Shanks' abilities because you have your Slasher Captain ready to go. Double stacking conditional boosts, inflicting the weakness debuff on the opponent, getting a conditional boost against that. Obviously, very, very powerful abilities. So, big fan of Shanks. He's a really strong unit. So, it is what it is, right? Moving on from that though, this celebration, it is what it is. And out of all of these celebrations, part 1, part 2, part 3, this had the best side unit. This character, very, very powerful. I actually like the Dory and Broggy a lot. The removal of burn, the special bind removal, they provide a lot of buffs. Like, they're just a really good, solid Sugofest exclusive. So this is definitely one of the best side legends to the celebration. It's a very nice unit. Really, really big fan of that. Hawkins sucks, as we all know. We had a little bit of an announcement here. Another little note here about upcoming events. We had the Kizuna Clash. And then showing all three of the units of the celebration. And then moving up from that, they gave us a little bit of a tease saying, oh, wait, we're going to go to Pirate Island Full Lead. So the thing is we had this celebration. Everyone really wanted to see Garp versus Kuzan. And then after the celebration ends, oh, would you look at that? We're going to go and have a look at Garp arriving at Pirate Island Full Lead, which is exactly what happened. So here is old mate Garp, Galaxy Impact. But we really wanted to see Garp versus Kuzan as a character, not Garp as a solo unit. I mean, look, people were kind of excited either way. the unfortunate thing is that this character blows. This character absolutely sucks. Especially with the thing that this character is all about. Galaxy Impact, mass amount of damage. People wanted this guy to be a huge DPS unit. This guy ended up being a healing unit. Like, it doesn't make any sense what this character is talking about. He does have access to Superclass Fighter. He does have access to HP Guard. This character was a defensive focused unit rather than an offensive focused unit. Made absolutely zero freaking sense. I don't know. This was the B team, as I was talking about earlier. The B team was on this one for sure. And for some reason, they decided to make this as one dedicated SugoFest exclusive. Personally, if I was on this one, I would make Garp the solo legend and then have these three as the rare recruits. But they ended up doing some weird stuff with the rare recruits. Or what you could have done is had Garp and Kuzan, and then the Kuzan and the other celebration could have been something else, and then these three be the rare recruits. Would have made a ton more sense. Unfortunately, they didn't go with that. This unit also sucks. One thing that is a little bit of a, saving grace for this unit is that their super class ability or the super type ability is very strong. Set target status, incredibly powerful. But the rest of this unit's kit is a bit of a stinker, unfortunately. Really mad how this celebration really turned out. And then we got a free-to-play Kuzan. Now, all things considered, the free-to-play Kuzan was absolutely godly, but it is so weird. This character should have been a SugoFest exclusive, but it wasn't. It was, I don't know, man. It's just so stupid. It gets me heated all the time. And then we had this one. Pirate Rumble, Avalo Pizarro, and San Juan Wolf. Bro, this was a big release. These two units, amazing in Pirate Rumble. I don't have either of them. I wish I did. This character is an absolute menace in Pirate Rumble, man. He's such an annoying unit to get around with his special biomechanics and just really annoying gimmicks that he has. A little bit of a tease for the Toei animation stuff. And then, of course, for the TM, we had the Honesty Impact Kobe, which is kind of cool. So we had the Garb and then we had the Kobe. Now I do have the Kobe and I have trialed him out. And again, this is another unit that we kind of expected to be more offensively focused. And he kind of is in a way, but he's also like more utility focused as well. It's kind of a weird one with him. So I just think the design of these units in the celebration was just kind of off. It didn't really make a lot of sense. But I will say is that like Kobe's pretty solid overall. He's okay for sure. He's a perfectly fine legend. But you can definitely do without him. It's not the end of the world if you don't have this unit. And I mean Garp, I don't have Garp, but man, his design is so weird. We got the announcement of the 6+ for Magellan, which is a big thing too. And of course, we had the letter talking about the recent celebration, talking about some updates, the whole PKA update up to further level 150 up to 300. The Super Rumble specials was also a really big thing. Some other quality of life stuff. Kuzan getting his 5+, a very good free-to-play unit, one of the best free-to-play units this year. Magellan, one of the best super evolutions of the year. And then the Kizuna of this guy right here, Shiryu. Shiryu is definitely one of the best Kizuna legends that's ever released. Kizuna legend, honestly, like this guy is amazing. Set target status, again, slasher unit, synergizes well with Zoro and Sanji, but also powerhouse focus, so he works really well with versus Blackbeard. And of course, moving after that celebration, so like we had the versus unit celebration, which was a block of part 1, part 2, part 3, all Super Sugos. Then we had this month of the Pirate Island Full Lead stuff, and then we go immediately back into another Super Sugo celebration. Like the end of the year chunk was insane in terms of the sheer volume of premium characters was kind of nuts. So we had Roger Rayleigh Gaban with the whole Captain Shift mechanic. I think Captain Shift has quite a lot of potential, and I think they started it okay with Roger. Honestly, like a character of this caliber, I kind of expected a character like this to be like the New Year's celebration. So the fact that we had this most recent celebration already with Roger Rayleigh Gaban, and then we also had who else was it? It was Halloween Uta, of course, which absolute stinker of a unit. Perona, the same thing with Super Tandem Luffy with the whole 6+ celebration. This character came out October 28th. We still don't have the Super Evolution skulls, and it's currently the 18th of December. We don't have her Super Evolution skulls yet, so that's insane. And then, like, moving on from that celebration, we had Kaido and King, as well as Katakuri and Big Mom. Shout out to my boy, Mr. Slam Jam. So, like, so the fact that I'm saying this, these characters releasing in this celebration leads me to believe that I'm not expecting these characters to reappear for the New Year's celebration. 6+ Crocodile, by the way, absolute homie. He's really, really good. And free-to-play Vegapunk, really, really good. And then obviously at the end of this year celebration, we had this one here with, this one stinks. I don't like this unit at all. And then the Carrot, I don't like this unit either. So I'm expecting New Year's to not be these units. I would be shocked if they are. They could be, but the fact that they're not doing that, I really don't know what New Year's could be at this point. I mean, we already kind of made a video about it. I think it's probably going to be Rob Lucci and Gear 5 Luffy. That's going to be my guess. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if it's, again, more Wano stuff, because that's what Bandai absolutely love to do. And of course, we're moving into the most recent release month. We had the Orochi and the Kanjuro unit. The unit is fine. This unit doesn't have a lot of utility. Rumble Legend York is pretty mid. I don't really care about that unit at all. And then Stussy, man, I'm a big fan of the Stussy. I think this unit is designed really well, really cool legend. And then the 6+, obviously, of Sanji and Pudding, who is out right now on the Kizuna Clash. And then, of course, we're here right now. We're getting towards the end of the year. So overall, there were definitely some high points, but after that 10th anniversary, we were like on cloud 9. We were doing really, really well. And then they hit us like a ton of bricks with that Memories of Straw Hat celebration for like 2 to 3 months, and we were just dead. Like, there was nothing going on, and it was just so boring. And it didn't help that the co-op quest situation with that game mode being like released as it was, it did not help. It just felt like not a lot of things went right this year for Treasure Cruise. So we'll wait and see. Obviously, we're holding out hope, but it just seems like at this point it's probably not going to change all that much. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I am still definitely looking forward to the New Year celebration. Hopefully they select a really good celebratory unit, and hopefully the units that they release for New Year's are very strong. Obviously, the last few years of characters that have released for New Year's have been some of the best that release in that calendar year. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of the same of that. So that's going to be it from me, going through all of the characters from all the events from the recent year. There's a lot of stuff. One thing I would like to say though, I'd like to see more free-to-play units released for damn sure. We didn't even have a single arena. We didn't have a single clash come out this year. Sometimes they give us like one, you know, well, like usually on One Piece Day we get like a clash or something. They didn't give us that. No arena. So I would love to see more of that. Updates to GARP Challenge, because people love that stuff. We'll wait and see, right? We'll see. Hopefully you enjoyed the video though. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.